Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meaty69. Welcome back to the channel. Now, as promised, we took a look at the announced German rebalanced tier 10 tanks. So we had a look at them. There was a few that were a bit like, I don't get what they're doing. But now we are going to take a look at the Soviet tier 10 changes. Some of these are pretty good. Some of them, again, I just don't understand. So, first one, the Object 268 version for the type of the base shell has changed to APCR. The average damage per shot is decreased by 40 and 20 for APCR and heat shells. So 40 for less for the APCR and 20 less for heat. View range is reduced by 10 meters. Reload time becomes 1.25 seconds shorter, and the max forward speed increases to 40 kilometers per hour. So, I mean, it makes it a little bit quicker, a little bit less alpha. I mean, it's not massively less, so I think that's a decent change. Yes, you're doing a little bit less, but you are actually going a bit quicker. So yeah, not too bad there for the Object 268 version 4, which is already a very, very strong tank. I'm surprised they haven't touched its armor, but that is where this tank really does shine. So a little change there for the 268 version 4. Now, the Object 268, the tech tree, the average damage per shot is increased by 20 for AP and heat shells. The gun dispersion and aiming time are reduced. The view range is scaled down to 240 meters. The armor is weakened for the upper and lower glacis plates as well as the hull. Yeah, that seems like a bit of a nerf there, in my opinion, for the standard Object 268. I don't get it. The armor profile isn't special. Yes, you can get troll bounces, but that is where this tank really does sort of rely on them troll bounces. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's getting increased alpha, but 20 it isn't a lot to lose that armor. So I think that is a bit of a nerf there for the Object 268. So the 263, the view range is brought down to 240 meters. The reload time becomes 0.29 seconds shorter. Armor gets enhanced for the whole side, engine compartment, roof, and superstructure front. The types of the base and premium shells are changed to APCR and heat. The armor penetration is reduced by 15 for the former and increased by 30 for the latter. For both shells, the velocity is decreased. So yeah, a bit of again, I think that is a bit of a buff there for the Object 268. Already one of the highest DPM tanks in the game, and with almost half a second, just over a quarter of a second shorter on that reload. Bit of a better armor profile as well. So yeah, if I believe almost 4,000 DPM this tank now goes to. So yeah, again, bit of a buff in my opinion for the Object 263. So the Object 260, the reload time gets 0.77 seconds shorter. HP count is increased by 100. The engine power and shell velocity are lowered. The upper glacis plate and turret side armor are strengthened. The average damage per shot is decreased by 20. So already, again, it's an kind of like an IS-7, not as good as an IS-7. But yeah, I don't mind the decrease by 20 points, but because it overall almost, what, 3/4 of a second shorter on the reload, yeah, I don't mind that at all, to be fair. So, and again, the armor is strengthened, which is what this tank really sort of needed. It was okay in all fronts except for that armor. So yeah, to get better DPM and better armor, I think that is a pretty good change for the Object 260. The Object 777 version 2, one of the most broken tanks in the game. APCR becomes the new base shell. The velocity of all shell types is decreased. The gun dispersion gets improved. So again, I can only see that really as a buff. The gun dispersion is better. Everything else pretty much stays the same except for the shell velocity. The IS-7, the engine power is decreased. Max forward becomes 3 kilometers slower. I don't know why they've touched the IS-7 speed. That is, again, what makes this tank is that speed. And now they're lowering it. Yes, it is only 3 kilometers. So I don't know why they've sort of only 3 kilometers. If they're going to change, why 3 kilometers? Why not just leave it? Armor penetration is reduced by 5 millimeters. So yeah, yeah, not so great for AP shells, and increased by 17 for APCR. So the penetration on your AP becomes shorter, but your APCR gets a little bit more. Tungsten shell rounds consumable is now added for this tank as well, as the hit points count is set to 2,550. So again, overall, I do think that is a good change, or not a good change, but it might be too much there for the IS-7. Yes, it's getting a little bit slower. Nothing really to write home about, but the added of the tungsten shells. Like, the tungsten shells were there for a few tanks, you know. New lines come in, they have a special sort of mechanic or special ability, and some of them, like the Polish tanks and etc., had the tungsten shells. Now they're just adding it to everything. Like, it doesn't make it unique then to that tank. Yes, it will be good for the IS-7 to have that tungsten shells, but it doesn't need it. It already has high alpha. But yes, stop adding tungsten shells to everything, because it just sort of degrades the tungsten shells. Like, it, and the other tanks that had it, now pretty much every tank is going to have it, and it just become, what's the point? So yeah, I don't like the fact that the tungsten shells are added on pretty much every freaking thing that they're doing. So the IS-4, the count is trimmed by 250 points. The armor penetration decreased by 6, 10, and 3 for the APCR heat and HE shells. The general armor profile is weakened. Again, I don't think it needs weakening. I think the armor profile needs strengthening now. The power to rate ratio, max, forward speed, terrain crossing capacity, accuracy, reload time are all and aim time are all improved. It didn't need all that. It didn't need all that. The IS-4 is the IS-4 because of everything, like the armor profile, the general armor all around, like the front plate, the sides, you know. It was a great tank for a first time tier 10er. Like, if you haven't got a tier 10 yet and you're looking at what tank could be your first tier 10, I would always recommend the IS-4 because it allows you to learn a lot of things. And now they're decreasing certain things. Like, yeah, it needs improving, in my opinion. But it is what it is. I don't think that is a great change there for the IS-4. So moving over to the light tank now, the T100 light, the armor penetration of base and premium shells is reduced. So yeah, it's getting a bit of nerf on the penetration. Front armor, the gun mantlet and upper glacis becomes weaker. So not only is the penetration been nerfed, your armor's been nerfed, your HB, your hit point count is increased by 50. Reload time gets half a second shorter. So yeah, I think half a second, yeah, it's already good DPM for a light tank, so it didn't need any more. But yeah, I do think that is a bit of a nerf for the T100. The T22, the shell velocity is scaled down. The reload time becomes 0.19 seconds slower. So yeah, a bit of a nerf there for the DPM. Slightly improved are the max forward speed, the engine power, the upper glacis armor, and spaced armor all around the side. So 0.9 seconds slower on the reload, but you do get improved max forward speed, engine power, and your armor. So I do think, again, that is a good change for the T22. The T62, the average damage per shot increases. So not only has it had all that love in the past, it's now getting higher DPM because it has, well, it's getting more. Not so much higher DPM because, as you can see, the reload time gets half a second longer. Again, I don't get that. Again, you're giving it more alpha, but you're lowering the reload there. So the gun stabilization will improve. Frontal turret armor and upper and lower glacis are reinforced. So again, I don't get that. You're giving it a better turret, you're giving it a better lower glacis plate, and all that. You're just giving it sort of half a second longer on the reload. So it's not too bad there for the T62, but I don't get it. The Object 140, the engine power and turret traverse speed are increased, the gun dispersion is improved, the reload time will be decreased by half a second, the average single shot damage is reduced by 10, the view range is shortened, the front turret armor and gun mantlet and the upper glaciers are all weakened. Like, what the actual F? So the object, the engine power and turret traverse speed are getting increased, the gun dispersion is getting improved, but other than that, your reload's gonna suck, your average single shot damage is gonna suck, and your view range is gonna suck. Your frontal turret armor and the gun mantlet and the upper glaciers are all gonna suck. It's what the actual heck? Like, all of the things that you're seeing being nerfed here with the Object 140, in my opinion, needed to be buffed because it was so far off the T62. I don't get that change. I really don't. So yeah, in my opinion, the Object's now going to suck. The Object 907, the turret and hull armor becomes thinner. The engine power and aim time are both improved. Average damage per shot increased by 10. The tracer shells battle mechanic is added. So not too bad there for the Object 904. So that is your changes. That is your Soviet tanks in tier 10 changes. Some of them are okay. Some of them absolutely suck. But for me, the Object 141 just does not make no sense. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, guys. I'm meadsyreplays, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye. With